6, 7, even 8 a day. Yeah.
Full panic attacks.
Full on meltdown panic attacks, yeah.
Phenomenal.
Well, first I'd say you're not crazy and you're not alone, because that is just so important.
Yeah. While a lot of this was sort of physiological.
This is not medical advice or a treatment guide. This video was made as first attempt at doing a podcast interview. May it lend encouragement and demonstrate that we are all an integrated system of mind, body and soul.
Hi, I'm Clarissa. I'm a psychologist, a psychotherapist, and also a mother of 5 boys. And today I'm going to be talking to my firstborn son about his personal experiences and journey through anxiety. We're just going to find out from Elias what it's been like to be struggling with anxiety for how long?
28 years.
Yeah.
The whole time I've existed.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like you came out anxious.
Yeah.
So, Elias, you were my firstborn, natural birth. And I think what's relevant here is that you had the nuchal cord and you had a short umbilical cord. So a nuchal cord is where it's wrapped around the baby's neck. A few times you must have been doing somersaults in the womb.
I was just so excited to get out.
Yeah, you were. You were so excited you couldn't even wait to poop before you got out. So Elias was also a meconium baby, meaning, I don't know if that's a term, a meconium baby. He was made out of black tarry poo. No, Elias did his first poo in the womb, which is called meconium because it's a black tarry substance which is not good for the babies to breathe in. So one of your first experiences was of being strangled and aspirated.
Yeah, and I did it to myself.
Trigger warning, well, I couldn't have done it, so I don't know, do we start to blame the mother here?
No, it's the consequences of your own actions from day one.
Yeah, exactly, I like that.
Yeah.
That lean on responsibility, on self-responsibility, even as a newborn.
Yeah, well.
Very cool. Okay. Hi, I'm Clarissa. I'm a psychologist, a psychotherapist, and also a mother of 5 boys. And today I'm going to be talking to my firstborn son about his personal experiences and journey through anxiety. We're just going to find out from Elias what it's been like to be struggling with anxiety for how long?
28 years.
Yeah.
The whole time I've existed.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like you came out anxious.
Yeah.
So, Elias, you were my firstborn, natural birth. And I think what's relevant here is that you had the nuchal cord and you had a short umbilical cord. So a nuchal cord is where it's wrapped around the baby's neck. A few times you must have been doing somersaults in the womb.
I was just so excited to get out.
Yeah, you were. You were so excited you couldn't even wait to poop before you got out. So Elias was also a meconium baby, meaning, I don't know if that's a term, a meconium baby. He was made out of black tarry poo. No, Elias did his first poo in the womb, which is called meconium because it's a black tarry substance which is not good for the babies to breathe in. So one of your first experiences was of being strangled and aspirated.
Yeah, and I did it to myself.
Trigger warning, well, I couldn't have done it, so I don't know, do we start to blame the mother here?
No, it's the consequences of your own actions from day one.
Yeah, exactly, I like that.
Yeah.
That lean on responsibility, on self-responsibility, even as a newborn.
Yeah, well.
Very cool. Okay. And so what was your earliest experience with feeling anxious?
Oh, well, the earliest experience that I remember is probably getting all stressed out over assignments. I remember having a complete meltdown with this diorama assignment that you and I were working on together because it was a big project, and I remember having a complete meltdown about it not being perfect and not having enough time and leaving it to last minute and not being the right colors and not being the right texture and consistency and worrying about getting in trouble at school for it.
Can you remember how old you were then? What grade you were in? I think that was primary school, wasn't it?
Yeah, it would have been primary school, maybe third grade. So what's that?
Yeah.
8?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after year 3, 8 years old, what was your other strong feelings of having anxiety?
It's hard to say because I don't really remember my childhood very much. There's not too much to go off there, and I think maybe that is indicative of a bit of repression or something like that. But
Well, that's clearly your mother's fault.
yeah, I don't know. I can't remember much of a flow-on from that.
Well, as it happens, there are a certain percentage of the population that do have low childhood memories, narratives. And also we know that you have taken a lot of histamines. I don't know if that's got anything to do with your memory formation, or was it just absolute chaos and you were so out of your body with anxiety that you don't remember?
Could be. I mean, I did have a lot of night terrors.
Yes, you did.
That was a big thing. And I do remember, I don't remember what the night terrors were about, but I do quite vividly remember the feeling of the night terrors. Like I remember walking around the house and feeling like everything was a million miles away from me, feeling like I couldn't get anywhere and it was all black and white. And the feeling of like terror there is...
You can remember that when you were in the terror?
Yeah.
Okay, it's interesting because when you were having night terrors, it was like you were there but not there. You would look right through your father and I if we went to help you, and you'd be flapping your arms and sometimes running around. And it was like you were in another reality, and it would take some time before we could actually calm you, to bring you around, to actually say, here you are. And then you would sort of wake up a little bit and then go back to bed and go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Sometimes going to the toilet helped as well.
Yeah. It's still to this day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing like a full bladder to wake.
No. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, even still to this day, I do sometimes have that kind of awake panic attack, experience. Yeah.
Like a night paralysis.
Yeah.
Sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis is, yeah.
So it's as if you had, you were born with a tightly wound nervous system.
Yeah.
And even at night, you would sweat at night and you would have the sleep insomnia and the terrors, which I think we managed to wean out of you around 5 or 6, probably. They got less and less frequent as you moved out of toddlerhood. And then, of course, you're 8, you remember having anxiety, but of course you grew up as an early Gen Z, cusp of millennials.
Yep.
So we didn't have this sort of very common childhood anxiety constellation where you would have learnt about it online or from kids at school. Do you remember that happening?
No, I don't remember. To be honest with you, I don't remember interacting with anyone around anxiety until well into high school. Like I don't remember it really being addressed or spoken about or even something that I fully understood. Depression was... Everybody knew about depression. Everyone was depressed. Every other kid had, to go and, leave class every now and again and do all these different things. But anxiety, not so much. Besides maybe social anxiety. Some of the kids in the class didn't have to do their speeches and things like that. But I never struggled with that. The social anxiety was never an issue.
No, you always have loved people.
Yeah.
I always said that I could have, with Elias when he was a little baby, had given him to a stranger on the side of the road and driven off, and he would have said bye. Whereas your brother was the complete opposite. Yeah.
I still remember being in a fish and chip shop with Dad, and I was holding on to the pant leg of the wrong person.
And you were cool with that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, my dad came over and dragged me off. Like, you can't do that, and I'm just there holding on to someone. Yeah, I actually remember that. That's probably the earliest memory that I have. Yeah.
Oh, you must be really little.
I would have been a toddler. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we can go forward into your early adolescence when you had your first panic attack.
Yep.
And so around 13, you were just a normal kid with 4 little brothers.
Yep.
Could be relevant. And I remember you coming to me very wound up, and you wanted to go to the hospital. You thought you were, dying. And can you remember that?
Yeah, I remember it vividly. We had gone to someone's party, and I drank a bunch of energy drinks and a bunch of Cokes. So I'd had copious amounts of caffeine.
Okay.
And then we stopped at Macca's on the way home, and so I had a bunch of burgers and more Coke. Excuse me. And then I'm in the car, and I can feel I can feel it, like, and there's pain starting in my chest, and I'm shaky and my mouth has gone all dry. And so when we were eating, I couldn't eat properly. I couldn't swallow properly. And then I remember getting home thinking, this is it, just this immense feeling of dread. And so I remember coming upstairs to your bedroom and just crying and going, I'm dying, this is it. And you were like, what's going on? And I'm like, my heart feels like it's going to explode, And then I remember you called a nurse to be like, maybe, because I was like, take me to the hospital, like I'm dying. And you were like, I don't know about that. Called a nurse, and because my heart rate was so high for so long, they were like, maybe just check it out just in case. And we got to the hospital, and as soon as I was there, I started calming down and the caffeine started wearing off. And then I got a stern talking to by the doctor.
About having energy drinks?
No, about smoking too much weed. Yeah.
Right.
So that was part of it as well, is that I had been smoking a lot of weed, and I came upstairs thinking I was about to die, and I thought, well, no better time to confess.
Yeah.
And so I said, I've been smoking weed, I've had a few cigarettes, and, I know I shouldn't have done it, but now this is what's happening. And, I didn't, threw caution to the wind because I thought, this is it. Like, might as well tell the whole story if I'm going to die.
And I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did. And I think I might have said something like, oh gosh, and you have asthma. What a not a great idea.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was the thing as well, is that because my chest was so tight, I was having some Ventolin too. And so that is also a stimulant. So it was just like, yeah.
Yeah. Perfect storm.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, what happened after that was that the initial panic attack catalyzed a chain of events.
Yep. I stopped eating anything that I thought was unhealthy. I stopped drinking anything that I thought was unhealthy. I don't think I went to school for about a month or two, because I was just, I was like, couldn't go back. I was too scared to go back. And
because
I thought I was still going to die.
Meaning you were worried about having another panic attack.
Well, another panic attack, but worried that wasn't actually a panic attack, and that was, the first sign to a chronic disease that was going to kill me.
Okay, so this is something new to me now, because what we've got is the beginning, potentially, of your health anxiety. Right. Do you remember worrying about your health for yourself prior to that? Or?
No, I didn't worry at all. Like a lot of days when I was out, the only thing I would consume was an entire 2-liter bottle of soft drink.
I knew nothing.
And that was the energy that I would use to get me through the day, because it was a 90-cent bottle of soft drink, and because I was out for the whole day with my friends and I didn't have any money, I was like, well, this will get me through, and then I can stay out.
I understood you were taking lots of money and buying food for the munchies, now I realise, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So health to you was, you were just a kid. You were just being a pubescent boy and living your best life until then, and then everything changed.
Yeah.
And you developed the fear of having another panic attack, but also the fear that wasn't just this isolated incident. I'm curious if the lack of awareness around it being a panic attack or a panic disorder or something, or if it had just been so terrifying that fear had anchored in you, rather than it being a lack of information.
Well, I definitely think it's a combination of the both. Like I didn't know, like it wasn't confirmed then that it was a panic disorder. To be honest, I don't think it was actually confirmed until 5-6 years later, where the doctors actually said you've got panic attack disorder and anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder. And so at the time I was like, well, nobody else experiences this,
Back in those days, it wasn't the...
Yeah, I had no idea that there was anybody else.
And it'd be good to actually try to understand what year this is in 2013, when you're 13.
Yeah, it would have been 2010.
2010. So what I want to draw a line under is this is before the iPads came out and everybody had access to a device and information at a kid's fingertips. Because we're right.
Yeah, but I
didn't have reels popping up saying you have got this and you could search it or anything. No.
The closest thing I knew to someone else with a mental health disorder was one of my friends had ADHD.
Oh, Only one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So wholesome back then.
Yeah. Plenty of other kids definitely had it, but he was the most chaotic he was like the kid from the Wild Thornberrys. He'd run around all the time. So
Okay.
he was the only medicated one that I knew.
And of course, having one panic attack does not panic disorder make. So, it was very clearly connected to an oversupply of caffeine in your system.
Yeah.
And the prodrome of having smoked marijuana, having asthma and...
Yeah, it was definitely that. And I think also throughout the time of smoking and things like that, I would get too high and then have mini panic attacks then.
Right.
I'd have little, I need to leave, like...
Freak outs.
Yeah, freak outs. Like where we are isn't safe. I'd get quite paranoid.
That happens.
Yeah.
So I think I understood it then as well, that the weed had primed you and destabilized your neurochemistry.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing being a 13-year-old jacked up on caffeine drinks and having heart palpitations, but it's another thing when your mind takes that and says, here we go.
Yeah.
This is this thing again that's being kindled in me, on top of an already tightly wired nervous system, if that's not really a technical term, but you certainly had the seeds of anxiety in your childhood as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Elias, it was several years until you understood that you had panic disorder, but can you speak to how many other panic attacks you might have had after the age of 13, after this happened, and
Yeah, I had heaps, so many. I remember as soon as I went back to school, at least one a day, I'd be sitting there in class and I'd feel my heart rate go up, or I'd feel short of breath or something, or I'd feel air hungry, and I'd be sitting there thinking, this is it, I'm going to die in my classroom, and I can't tell anyone about it because they're all going to think I'm crazy. So I can't say anything. I can't go outside and go for a walk or anything like that.
Because that might have helped you if you could have got out and moved your body and so on, you think?
Yeah, it could have.
So I know that you continued to have panic attacks. And I remember sometimes you sitting there going, my chest feels tight and, trying to breathe or talk through it. But I didn't know that you had that experience in the classroom of feeling, one, you were going to die, and two, that you couldn't speak about it because people would think you were crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because, again, I didn't have anything to compare it to. And the first psychologist that I saw was hopeless as well.
Well, yeah. What was your first experience? Because I did take you to see a child psychologist.
Yeah. So she was just up the road, so I could walk there myself if I needed to. And I remember going in there, and she would say, "Okay, well, what's worrying you?" Would have been quite soon after the first big panic attack.
Yeah.
And I'd go in and I'd say, "Oh, I've been having nightmares about spiders crawling into my bed or something," and she'd be saying, "Well, you've never been killed by a spider before, and there's no spiders in your room, so you need to just." I don't know, you could sense that she was getting frustrated with me very quickly and wasn't really engaging with my problems, and was kind of trying to just diminish them and say, well, no, it's not that, you don't have spiders in your room, or, you don't need to worry about dying because you're not going to die, you're only a kid, you're young and healthy, don't worry about it. And so I felt like nobody had taken me seriously and nobody understood what was actually happening. And again, she didn't acknowledge that I had anxiety disorder. She just gave me a bunch of homework.
Yeah, I remember
said,
those little CBT worksheets.
Yeah, she'd be like, just work on this and just fill that out and reframe your thinking.
Those thoughts, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is cognitive behavior therapy, which is a top-down approach to challenging faulty thoughts to reorient the feelings in the body. But when the feelings are coming out of your body, when they're starting like a tightness in the chest and an air hunger, for you to try and think your way out of it, I'm sure you were smart enough even at 13 to do that.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing it did is that it further doubled down on this, I'm crazy and nobody's taking me seriously.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And then I think the worst part of it was that she disappeared. I had missed an appointment because I was a teenager and I got my time mixed up and I thought it was the day after than it was. And so I tried to rush up last minute for the appointment, and she was like, well, you've missed it. And I went, okay. And then she didn't offer to me to reschedule or anything else. And then she packed up shop and wasn't there anymore.
And how did you experience that?
Well, I just thought, well, screw this. Nothing's helped. She hasn't helped. If anything, I just feel worse because I'm having to force myself to think about all these things that stress me out so much all the time. And now she's just up and left. So I'm just going to go and sort this out on my own.
And how did you do that?
Well, not very well, not very healthily upon reflection, but as best as I could at the time. I kind of developed, I guess, a mild eating disorder where I wouldn't eat anything sugary, fatty, or anything like that. And if I thought it was going to be, I would just not eat it. And so I lost a lot of weight very quickly.
Yeah. You didn't get underweight as an anorexic,
No.
but you'd gone from a healthy lad.
Yes. I'd gone from a prop to a fullback.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'd lost a lot of weight very quickly. I went from being one of the heaviest guys in school to, middle lower. So
Meanwhile, you were growing
yes.
taller as well.
Yeah.
So if we jettison forward, so this is basically management of trying to, control what you can and to mitigate having another panic attack. And, then we go forward to what would be the next pivotal moment that you can think of.
The next pivotal moment would probably be quite a while later. I think I was 21 or 22 and I'd come back from Melbourne. I'd moved to Melbourne for a little while and I was there. I was isolated. I didn't have many friends. I was smoking a lot of cigarettes and I was having very regular panic attacks all the time. I wasn't sleeping well. And so I remember I moved back here and I finally saw a doctor that put me on antidepressant. That helped me coast by for a while and I managed to go overseas on exchange and, I managed to live quite a bit. And then lockdown happened.
Yeah.
So COVID, everyone locked inside. There's a disease coming for you, and the health anxiety skyrocketed. I put on a whole bunch of weight from the meds that I was taking. I was back on the cigarettes because I was like, this is stressing me out. And it was my escape. That was another big, I remember about a month there where I was really struggling to get out of bed from having panic attacks because I would wake up in the morning and have a panic attack straight away. And then I'd go about my day or try and go back to sleep. And then I'd have another one when I woke up from a nap or after I'd eaten.
So you'd moved back to your father's place?
Yes.
Right.
And there were
For lockdown?
Yeah, there were 13, 14 of us in the house at any given time, and everybody's girlfriends, my girlfriend. It was just full chaotic house. You had to take a ticket to get to the bathroom. And then again, I just remember thinking, I have no space of my own. I have no time to think, and there's just pressure building up in the house.
So that was making you causing more panic.
Yeah, well, because then as well, the fear of the disease of COVID was immense, and it was everywhere, and it was all anyone was talking about, and the news was horrendous, and
it was a horrible time.
there were the Black Lives Matter protests and the riots overseas, and so everyone, because you didn't have anything else to do, was just looking at their screens all the time. And I just remember thinking, the world is ending, everything is coming to an end, and if I don't die from some rare disease, the sun's going to blow up and kill us all anyways. Very existential.
And you were having bouts of depression as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, because the anxiety was so unmanageable, I would get depressed because of that. It was never the depression first. It was always, the anxiety is limiting everything I can do and how I can experience life and what I can feel. And so then I'm like, all I have the energy for is to rot away in my bed. So, yeah.
You invented the term bed rot.
Yes, exactly. Coined it. Yeah, pre-COVID, I coined bed rot. Yeah.
When COVID ended,
So when the first lockdown ended, I moved out at home, and I was living in a share house, and I was smoking cigarettes again, and I was stressing myself out, and I was trying to do full-time uni and full-time work, and then again more panic attacks. But at this point, I was just trying to push through as best I could, just keep taking antidepressants, up the dose, push through, get the vaccines, have horrible reactions to it, push through, and just keep, I think I actually channeled the depression into an apathy towards life generally, and that minimized my anxiety.
Yeah.
Or if I don't have this immense survival instinct of I'm about to die all the time, I can go, oh, well, if I'm about to die, that's all good. Everything's fucked anyways.
So a bit of nihilism there.
Yeah.
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 Nihilism.
Pessimistic nihilism, though.
Pessimist, yes. Not positive nihilism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where you find yourself now is very different. But I think there was a culmination. You had the long-term relationship that ended. You went down to Melbourne again. Your panic and your anxiety was really, really amping up and getting completely unmanageable and out of control.
Yeah.
I remember earlier this year, 2025, very early, and I was getting calls from you frequently to help you get through a panic attack, and they were literally coming one after the other. In fact, I think you got to the point where you were having
6, 7, even 8 a day. Yeah.
full panic attacks.
Full on meltdown panic attacks. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd get one before I woke up.
Before you woke up.
Yeah, I'd get one usually in the
wake
early
up.
hours in the morning, or I'd wake up in a panic attack, and then I'd get one as soon as I'd, had a shower and gotten ready for work. I'd get one when I'd get to work. I'd get one usually in the afternoon when I'd have a meeting, and then I'd get during meetings, which is very difficult to mask during a meeting. And then I'd get one in the afternoon when I'm driving out, because you used to have to drive for work to go to different places every afternoon/evening. I'd get one while I'm there, and then one on the way home, and then one before bed. So I don't know how many that is, but that there were days like that. Yeah, definitely.
It was so distressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't eat. I could barely sleep. I was exhausted all the time, just completely and utterly. I had nothing left to give. And I remember breaking down a few times, just thinking, I can't keep going on like this. This is so hard.
And when you hear those words from your child, that's when I got on a plane and went down. I packed up, moved down there. You were in a position where you wanted to move out of the place you were living in, because you understood there was a connection between potentially mold, biotoxins. You'd gone to doctors plenty of times.
I'd seen so many doctors.
Yeah. I remember going to one of those appointments with you, and I'm very convinced that the doctor's diagnosis of you was hypochondria.
Yep, that was all it was. Every person I saw, I'd get dismissed. Oh, you're just hypochondriac. We'll get you on more antidepressants, or we'll try a new one, because it's all a mental thing.
And you'd also had some psychology prior to that as well. You had some psychology session with a better psychologist and things. So
Yeah.
And you had some success with that, but then nothing was working.
No, not at this point.
No strategies, the best we could do was sort of talk you through it and talk you down and help you try to, get through things. It was just absolutely no way to live.
Yeah.
6, 7, 8 full-blown panic attacks a day, and the rest of it was anxiety. Yeah, because you'd exhausted the general medical scene.
Even somewhat of the alternative medical scene. I was seeing a doctor that was, try some CBD oil and, we'll do some different things. And even then it was still just take the CBD oil, off you go. And yeah.
Yeah, and you did, and it helped it.
A little bit.
Slightly.
It did. Yeah, it did.
But you were at a point where you couldn't eat anything. You had what were your physical symptoms? Do you remember?
Yep, I had all the intestinal issues you could have.
Yeah.
I'd had heartburn, diarrhea, I had nausea all the time, indigestion,
You were
bloating.
taking antacids as well?
Yep, I remember there were a few days where I had such bad heartburn that it didn't matter how many antacids I would take, it just did not mitigate it at all.
So you couldn't eat, you couldn't sleep, you couldn't barely function.
Yep.
Your life was just absolutely miserable. And if the interventions and the things that had happened hadn't happened to get you where you are today, I wonder, do you have any idea of where you would have ended up?
Institutionalized, for sure. I know that for an absolute fact. If I didn't have the support networks that I did, and I didn't have the interventions that I did, 100% I was going to a psych ward.
Yeah, because there was, I wouldn't have let that happen, but,
but
there was nothing more that could be done through the medical routes. You'd had so many different kinds of, and you actually tried changing your antidepressant, which had actually caused more problems.
Yeah, it made it so much worse, absolutely.
Because the symptoms when you were transitioning, like easing down, titrating off one and going back onto another one, were...
head spins, lightheadedness, vertigo, sleep disturbances, nightmares, all of the things that I was already having, really.
And that you're already afraid of and getting triggered by. Yeah. And very gratefully, because my inkling was towards going to see a fully integrative doctor, we got into one in one of the centres in Melbourne, which was highly acclaimed. Couldn't believe my luck that he had a cancellation.
Yep.
And we got the appointment within
like 2 days.
Yeah. We saw that doctor, and I had suspicion it was mast cell activation.
Yep.
And maybe SBIO, SIBO, an upper gastro issue because of the indigestion and the heartburn and the diarrhea. And heartburn, incidentally, is often a symptom of low stomach acid, not high stomach acid, which was
the issue. Yeah.
So taking more antacids was actually making it worse. And he did a lot of blood tests, which was, again, a huge challenge for you to actually get the blood work done, because you'd had vasovagal syncope in a blood test before. And, of course, it's, you're going to get blood drawn and find out that in your mind that I
am, in fact, diseased and there is something terminal or something horrible going on.
Yeah. I remember having a lot of conversations with you about, you were like, well, I just know that there is something they haven't found yet, and it's going to be bad. And I think the thing was not like nobody wants to die prematurely, but you had this huge energetic zest for life.
Yes.
And all of the things that you wanted to do. And I remember saying, are you afraid of being really unhealthy? And you were like, no, I'm
afraid of running out of time. I'm afraid of not being able to do all the things I want to do.
So
that's the biggest fear.
Yeah, you weren't exactly afraid of dying.
No, not necessarily. I was afraid of not being alive.
Yeah.
We
found that doctor, the integrative doctor, and as a checks and balances, he sent you to another practitioner.
Yep, a nutritionist.
Yeah, functional medicine practitioner.
Yep.
And that, in my mind, was quite transforming in terms of, she started off doing a gastrointestinal checklist assessment, and very quickly changed to doing a neurological assessment.
Yep.
And picked up the symptoms and did some motor function tests on you, and a big long questionnaire.
Yep.
And diagnosed you with
inflammation in the cerebellum.
Inflamed in the membrane.
Yeah.
So cerebellum ataxia.
So that's the word.
Cerebellum ataxia and dysautonomia.
Yep.
And so dysautonomia were the symptoms that we haven't actually explained. If you can tell the audience what would happen. I remember when we were walking along the street in Melbourne, and you would not necessarily be stationary or not, and you would have these...
Yeah, I'd get these like lightheadedness kind of feelings where it would feel like the world just very quickly just shifted around me. So I'd get this intense kind of sense of vertigo where I'd feel like, oh, I have to hold on to something, or...
But you were stationary.
But I was stationary.
You said it was like bubbles coming up.
It was like a big swirling bubble around my head that kind of just,
Which wasn't necessarily when you were standing from sitting or...
No, it was just, we'd be walking, we'd stop at the lights, and then it would happen.
Yeah. And so that was the dysautonomia, which is aligned with POTS, which is the postural tachycardic... postural orthopedic tachycardic syndrome. Something like that. We'll just call it POTS. But you didn't have POTS proper.
No.
You had dysautonomia, which was basically saying that your autonomic nervous system was wound up like a coil and was completely dysregulated. And that was the flow-on effect cause of a lot of your gastrointestinal issues.
Yep.
When your autonomic nervous system is just jammed up, your body, your organs are not getting the signals.
Yeah, well, because you don't need them if you're running from a predator.
That's how it
right?
was
So everything
explained.
gets switched off. You focus on surviving, running, getting away, and so obviously you want to clear out, be as light as possible so you can run as fast as possible, you know, and you want to be heightened so your pupils will dilate more, you'll be able to see more, and you'll be more photosensitive, which was a thing as well. As I had a lot of, like, if too much light in the room would stress me out, or turning my head too quickly
Yep.
while I was driving would set me off.
That was such an interesting finding because you often had panic attacks in the car.
Yeah.
And no doubt your car was moldy, the car boot was feral. But it was also the trigger of checking the side mirrors and over your shoulder that actually triggered this reflex that you had no idea was happening at the subcortical level. The other thing was the cerebellum ataxia. And basically the cerebellum is the motor cortex at the base of the brain, which was getting attacked by its own cells. So ataxia is where is actually a motoric imbalance, as I understand it, and I should flesh this out a little bit more precisely. But the thing with the gluten was that the gluten and the cerebellum genes or cells are very genetically identical.
Yep.
And so when there was so much gluten in there and you had an intolerance to gluten, the autoimmune system in the cerebellum would get triggered by the gluten but attack its own cells because they're so similar. So there shouldn't be gluten in the brain.
No.
But because your gut barrier was so leaky, you were getting whole gluten proteins circulating in your brain, and they were problematic mostly, even though you had probably systemic neural inflammation in your cerebellum because of the likeness with the gluten and that. So when your immune system in your brain went to try to get the gluten out, it actually was taking out some of the cerebellum cells, which is just phenomenal to think of.
Yeah.
And it was causing a knock-on. Are you okay with this?
Yeah, definitely.
There was a time where you would have not been able to go near this information because it would have triggered you into a tailspin.
Yeah.
So you were given treatment for that, and the first point of call was to
change my diet immensely. So I was on a vegan diet for off and on for about 8 years, but solidly for 6 and 1 at the end, which was an extremely high carb diet.
And consisted of
fake meat, which was just gluten protein.
Yeah. Gluten protein or wheat protein.
Wheat protein, which is gluten. I was eating kilos of just raw gluten. As a protein substitute, either that or tofu.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And not enough protein either.
No.
So there are several issues with this that you now see in retrospect. Now, you started the vegan diet as an ideology, or?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I thought that I was saving the environment by not eating animals.
And you were going out with hanging around a lot.
Yeah, there was vegans in the area. Yeah. I was trying to fit in.
But also you had quite an ideological perspective on it as well.
Yes.
And I'm curious if it wasn't also one of your control
it could have been a diet control thing as well.
Well, save the world control thing.
Well, maybe. That too, yeah. But it definitely, I think it was also a diet thing of like, if I was under the impression that the vegan diet was the healthiest. And so I thought if I stick to this, I'll be healthy, I'll live forever, Yeah.
And to be fair, in the media, then there was an awful lot of information around the dangers of meat and how they led to cancer and so on. But of course, having a one-side diet for your own physiology was not ideal because, well, let's start with, albeit that you feel that the antidepressants led to weight gain, having a diet that was that high in carbohydrates and foods that you were not digesting.
Yeah. Also definitely led to the weight gain because...
And how much weight?
It was about 45, 50 kilos. Extra, yeah, from pre... probably about 40 kilos from pre-veganism. Yeah.
Right. Wow.
And I held that for pretty much the entire time I was vegan. And even in periods where I dipped out of veganism, I didn't lose it because I was still mostly focused on that high carb vegan diet as the base. And then sometimes I'd slip in a bit of chicken or another type of protein.
Yeah, but like it was like a condiment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the question would be, how much do you feel it was the antidepressants, which I think you're back on the same kind now?
I am.
And how much do you think it was the vegan diet?
I think it was 90% the vegan diet, 10% the antidepressants. Yeah. I think the antidepressants definitely did and still do mess with my appetite.
Yeah.
So my appetite, I struggle to feel full or hungry, but
then you struggled to ever feel full. I remember
Yeah.
you were eating every half an hour sometimes because honestly, insulin must have been high, your leptin must have been high, you weren't getting nourished in your cells. And you would eat a lot.
And I could feel it as well.
Hungry and you never felt full.
Yeah, but I could feel the sense of malnutrition. Part of the reason I was eating so much was because if I didn't eat super regularly, I felt my body like not coping as well.
Right.
So I felt like I needed to always be eating more carbs, more vegetables. And I remember one of my main meals was rice.
Rice and beans.
And beans.
Yeah.
And that was it. I would just eat rice. I'd eat a kilo of rice and beans in a day, or in an evening, I should say.
Wow.
And just, get that down. And then, I'd need to eat more and more and more because I'd feel tired or lethargic or faint or lightheaded because I didn't feel nourished.
When you were told by the nutritional doctor that you had to stop eating wheat and stop eating soy, which was your main source of sort of meaty protein, and start eating meat.
Yep.
And, how was that?
At that point, I didn't care. I was just like, yep, let's do it, whatever,
But for you, it was like a temporary thing as well. It's like, do it for 3 months,
yes,
right?
yeah.
And you were still quite tied to the veganism as a lifestyle.
As an ideology, I still kind of am.
Right.
I actually do still struggle to not be vegan after having that ideology for so long. But also, I'm going to do more help to the planet by being healthy myself.
It was a long, slow path of taking a lot of supplements.
Yep.
Still, I think, but it was a short amount of time between, having these tests done, discovering what was going on, and you had the mast cell activation.
I did.
So you had the doctor, give you some pretty heavy histamines.
Yep.
Some antihistamine stuff for the food that you ate.
Yep,
right?
yep. So I had like a diet antihistamine. I had a normal antihistamine. I had a H2 blocker, which is a stronger antihistamine I would take overnight. I had
to help you sleep. Yeah.
Yep, and I also had a H1 with like a sleeping aspect, like Phenergan. I had vitamins, like a what's it called, where they mix it together for you.
Compounded.
I had a compounded vitamin that I was taking. I had hydrochloric acid that I would take before I would eat to increase the stomach acid.
Right, yes.
I had digestive enzymes that I would take every day. And
you had the glutathione, and you had a whole pile of other supplements from the other doctor. And we're not saying that everyone should go out and take these if they've got panic disorder or other symptoms. These were specifically prescribed to you, for your particular presentation and constellation.
Yeah.
And how long do you recall it being before your panic attacks went from 6 a day to maybe 1 or 2?
Honestly, barely a month.
Yeah.
Barely a month. Like a good few weeks of that was enough to the good few weeks of that, and also being heard and trusted, and people saying that yes, there is something going on, and we're going to help you fix it.
And you had mummy around.
Yes, exactly. So the Holy Trinity.
Yes, the Mother, the Father, and the Holy.
Mother, the Father, and the nutritional supplements. Yeah.
It was a phenomenal change, although you were still not out of the woods.
No, not quite.
Yeah. So, how would you summarize your progression from that point to where you are now. And so this was in about March, I think. I went down there.
Yep, March. Yeah, it would have been
April,
early March.
May, June, July, August, September, October, November. So we're looking at 8 months.
8 months. Yeah, so I think, the first month was survival, was you helping me get through all of it. And the second month was starting this process of the new diet and all the medications and trying to sleep better. And then the next step was really restricting the diet, because I didn't go on keto until a little while in.
Yeah, so the nutritional doctor realised that it was a lot for you to manage all at once, and especially after being a vegan for so long, to put you on a keto diet was just too much. I mean, you struggled with the supplements and the not having too much of something. There was still a lot of anxiety around what you were taking in. And you even went through other tests like for sleep apnea and...
well, I was actually being treated for sleep apnea for a while.
Because you had it for
Because
a
I
bit.
did have it.
Yes.
The weight made me snore, and I did develop sleep apnea. And so I had a CPAP machine to help me sleep at night and feel better, because I would not wake up feeling rested at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I went on the full strict, very, very strict keto diet. You managed to enter ketosis within like 2 days, which was pretty good. Stuck with that for about 4 months. And so sticking on to the keto, keep on taking the supplements. I lost enough weight that I wasn't affected by this sleep apnea anymore.
That's phenomenal. And how many kilos do you think that was between having sleep apnea, because you started to lose weight pretty quickly, especially when you took all of that soy and gluten and everything out of your diet?
Well, I mean, the first 10 kilos I lost because I couldn't eat.
Yeah.
The second 10 kilos was through a restricted diet and all the medication. And then the last 20 was through keto.
Right. Wow.
So 40 kilos total. And after the first 20, the sleep apnea stopped affecting me. All the tests, they would, like, the machines record you. And towards the end of my use of the sleep apnea machine, they were like, oh, you really don't need this. When you first came in and all the first tests you did, it was actually helping. Now, not so much. So if you want to spend a few $1,000s buying it, you can, but, and then, sticking to the keto for a while, exercising more, working on my...
And the journey to exercise, that's a story
a challenge
in itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because obviously having, a heightened heart rate was a trigger for you.
Yeah. So I would get exercise-induced panic attacks. And so anything, even sometimes just walking up the stairs, considering how unfit I was at the time, could set off a panic attack. Or at least bring my awareness far too much into my body and cause an anxiety attack, if not a panic attack. And so getting on the bike for the first time was difficult. I barely made it down the street before having to get off and calm myself down. But every time I would ride, I'd get a little bit further and a little bit further, and I'd call you more often than not and say, I'm having a panic attack, and you'll be like, well, you're exercising, so what's your heart rate? And then I'd breathe and slow my heart rate down, or pull my legs up.
So what you needed then was just an anchoring voice of, you're okay, you can ride this through. You didn't have the cognitive strength to do that yourself at that point either still.
Definitely not.
No, yeah. And that's fine, right? And thankfully that I could take calls, or somebody else could, or something like that, so you could sort of negotiate your way through it, and you kept trying, which is also amazing. You didn't just go, no, I'm not going near that. It was like, no, you must, get fit or fitter, and get your muscles back. And
so another thing was the testosterone. I don't know if you want to talk about that. So from being as heavy as I was, your fat cells are more likely to store estrogen, which is how it was explained to me. Or the soy was likely to increase estrogen.
And one of
the lack of sleep is likely to increase estrogen.
Okay, and one of the antidepressants.
And the antidepressant that I was on was known to increase prolactin.
Yeah, and who knew?
And so, through seeing the doctor, he was like, your testosterone levels are like a menopausal woman. What's going on?
Your estrogen levels.
My estrogen and my progesterone and the prolactin levels were all...
Like a menopausal woman.
Like a menopausal woman.
Wow.
And... Yeah, I was like, oh, that's great. You know, I always
No
thought...
wonder I've got, man boobs. And,
and mood swings and hot flushes, because I had
and you were
mood swings
genuinely really teary.
Yeah.
What's that show you watch all the time that soothed you?
The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, and there was one episode in that where he had to rub the estrogen cream on his mother.
Yes.
And he started bursting into tears all the time.
Yeah, because he wasn't wearing the gloves while doing it. He was absorbing the estrogen. So yeah.
You were kind of like that.
Yes, I was. Yeah. Yeah, I was very sensitive.
And I think this is really fascinating as well, because there are not many doctors that would think to look at your hormone levels to that extent, maybe, or maybe they do. I think they do realise that, testosterone in men is very important, and not having too much estrogen, although men have estrogen.
I mean, he did send me to an endocrinologist who just dismissed me straight away. When you've got a beard and you sexually active, you'll be fine. Off you go. So
and he sent you to the endocrinologist also to have a look at your pituitary, because you did have these symptoms that could have been in alignment with something else, and you had really high ACTH.
Yeah.
So your adrenocorticosteroid hormone, or whatever it is, not a doctor, was super high. And so he did want to check that. And of course, every time you got any whiff of there might be something more here.
Yeah, I'd immediately get sent back 3 or 4 steps.
Yeah, that was really frustrating.
Extremely frustrating.
Yeah. But you continued and you pushed through, and then when do you think you've really noticed a turning point? Quite recent, hasn't it?
Yeah, past couple months has been huge. You've noticed I haven't been calling you as much.
I know, when the phone is quiet, I'm like, Elias must be okay. This is a good thing.
Yeah. I haven't been calling my friends as much. I haven't been relying on as many people as much. I've been much able to expose myself to more triggers that would usually send me into a spiral. I got on a plane the other day without needing any...
No, you had really bad flight anxiety.
Yep.
That was crippling.
Didn't like the idea of being trapped inside a tin and dying in there. So.
Okay, well, just to the people that have flight anxiety, it never happened, and here you are over it. And the other thing that was missed out of the story along there is that you did have access to the crutches of having a beta blocker and Valium when needed.
Yeah.
And that you used them very judiciously. You didn't overdose on them.
No.
In fact, you probably didn't use them as much as you needed
Definitely
to.
didn't, yeah.
And so flying was really problematic. Then, everything seemed to be resolving. You're not calling me as much. You've lost a lot of weight. You're getting fitter. You're getting into activities again.
Yep.
There was probably a significant change in your relationships that kind of dovetailed with all of this. Do you think that's worth speaking to?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's indicative of an overall shift, right, of getting rid of, toxic, draining people from my life has been a huge priority throughout this process as well, of not giving the limited energy that I do have to anybody that's just going to consume it and not give back.
Yeah, and stress you out and use you as an emotional regulator when you are struggling yourself.
Correct.
The other thing was that you were struggling with work, meaning the dynamic within your workplace. I'm wondering how much the decision to leave that workplace wasn't a bit of a turning point?
Yeah, I mean, part of me never would have considered leaving it not that long ago, because I was like, well, I can't leave. It's my livelihood. I need to stay. They need me. I need them. And coming to realize that I'm, more able to support myself than I give myself credit for has helped me quit. But I don't know the full effects of that because it's only been a couple of days since I've, stopped working.
You put your notice in a while ago, that was because it was keeping you awake at night.
It was, yeah. It was far too much pressure.
Constantly on. I'd like to ask, so while a lot of this was sort of physiological, there was also a psychological, emotional component to it, which, while you weren't actively having therapy, and I think that would have been helpful, the structures that I don't know if you agree with them all, but what I helped you look at was the strength of your own superego, your inner critic, that had a lot of shoulds around it, and the drive that you have to please others.
Yeah.
The eldest of 5, and you're the caring type, and you're often supports to your friends, and had partners that were quite emotionally dysregulated, and you have a lot of guilt to letting people down, and due to your own conscientiousness also. But that all fed into this sort of I should, I ought to, I have to, I feel bad if I don't, I've got to overfunction and do these things that I'm not really enjoying or happy about, and they're driving me crazy, and I don't want to be there anymore, but I can't. And then the other part of you, which did seem to want to pull in another direction and live your life with more freedom. How did you feel that dynamic of that voice inside that told you when you were being bad and you ought to be trying harder and be doing more and have to be having this certain amount of time and one job and a resume, and compared to your inner maybe soul spirit drive to expand your life in another direction and be less obstructed by the patriarchal should in your head, as it were, or the corporate capitalist shouldiism?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest decision was deciding to live, right? The biggest decision was deciding to live and do what I want to do and exist how I want to exist in a way that I want to exist. That was the, if I was to describe it in one big decision, that's what I decided, right? And through help and guidance and both physical and spiritual, leading towards that. I shouldn't have to do anything. There's no shoulds. I can exist in whichever way that I want to, provided I'm, meeting my needs, my basic needs. That's all I need to achieve. And if I want to do something and I can do it, then I should do it. In a way, there's where the shoulds lie. Is, if I want something and I know I can achieve it, or I want to find out if I can achieve it, then I can do that. And I am definitely in a very privileged position in which I can, I have a safety net behind me. I've got people that can catch me if I fall, and that's all the more reason why, again, I should take the risks and I should do something, and I should quit the job, move elsewhere, try the new thing, and climb the wall and ride the bike and eat the food and visit the people and all of those kinds of things.
That sounds like it was quite a turning point for you psychologically and emotionally.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was quite recent, I think.
It was, and a big part of that was quitting the job.
Yeah. It
was cutting off some people that weren't serving me anymore. Or letting people leave my life if they're so desperate to have a go at me about something or to expect something from me that I am not willing to give, then all the best. Yeah. Good luck with it.
Yeah. So in your psychology and your psyche, you were also constricted in a way. If you were limited by the anxiety and the tightness, there was likewise an internal oppression within your own mind, which would have been the embodiment of your constellated superego over the life which everyone has, which would have been, the voice of what you think is expected of you from
society and the patriarchy and the history and everything. Yeah. There's expectations that are out there, but ultimately you put them on yourself. The expectations that other people have of you are just expectations. But if I was to embody those expectations, that's when I limit myself. Yeah. And that's when I limit my ability to achieve and to do things and to
live that life you so desperately always were worried about not being able to live.
Exactly.
So, what I've noticed is quite a shift and a liberation since you made the decision to not only leave your job, but to travel. So where you are now is a point in your life where you've if we can summarize it, you're
lost a lot of weight,
Yeah.
gotten a lot fitter, put on more muscle.
Tell us about that. How did you do? What are you doing?
Just
tomorrow?
bouldering, just climbing walls, really
Climbing?
getting back to that primal, I want to climb the thing. The sheer amount of dopamine you get when you reach the top of that wall is insane.
And the thing is, though, that I asked is, would you have done that 6 months ago?
No, absolutely
No,
not.
you would have been terrified of falling to death.
Falling and hitting my head or not being able to do it or anything. Having a panic attack at the top and getting stuck.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So as soon as you got the energy and the will, you started to initiate that.
Yep.
You sort of undid the shackles of the job that you weren't, enjoying because of a lot of the emotional dynamics within that, within your relationships, within, you took a risk.
Yep.
You took a risk, and right on the precipice of your first Saturn return
First Saturn return.
Yeah.
Really hits you like a truck.
Well, I mean, this is the time where Saturn says, who are you going to be as an adult now? You're out of your 20s, you're edging out of them, into the 30s, and how you're going to live your life.
Yeah.
And you get to choose whether you're going to do it by the book or the prescribed social mores, or you're going to do it in your own individualistic way and have it as an unfolding.
Yeah.
But even the metaphor of the climbing up the rocks, because there's no ballet, there's no
there's
harness.
nothing holding you. No, you just fall if you fall.
Wow.
And I do fall very often.
But you've got some muscles from it.
Yeah, I've got some. I'm not going to flex on
stacking
camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you've got fit.
Lost 40 kilos, gotten fit. I'm more extroverted now, even though I was already very extroverted before. I've allowed myself to spread my social butterfly wings, and I meet new people all the time, and I have new experiences, and I have great conversations, and I'm allowing myself to develop more friendships and, reach out to people that I want to and cut off people that I don't want to, and, really nurture my garden, right? Really look after my garden, do some weeding and, things like that.
Yeah. And metaphorical garden.
Metaphorical garden, yeah.
Where did you get that metaphor from?
I don't know. I heard it sometime a very long time ago, but I love the metaphor of the garden being your community. And some of them are there to just look pretty, and some of them are there to provide fruit, and some of them take a lot of care and you've got to put heaps of energy into them, and some of them will just be hearty and in the back and will grow like crazy and will nourish you and look after you without you having to do anything.
And the weeds you pluck.
And the weeds you pluck out. Because some weeds have flowers and they look pretty good, right? And you think, oh, this is a nice flower. What's this? And then all of a sudden it's taken over your whole garden and you've got no energy left.
So you keep away from the pretty flowers.
Yeah, well,
Too pretty.
some of the pretty flowers are good, but the pretty flowers on the weeds, you got to sometimes see the weed for the flower.
Yeah, it's a great metaphor. It's very good.
Yeah.
So you've come through a journey of 15 years.
Give or take, yeah.
From your first panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
When do you think your last one has been?
I can't even really remember. I've had some disturbed sleep and woken up going, oh, this is, a bit shaky, but it very quickly managed to calm myself down from that. So I honestly can't remember. Yeah.
Maybe a couple of months.
I'd maybe say a month.
Okay.
Yeah, I think around the time of deciding to quit my job, and actually probably would have been around then or just before
I'm glad
then.
we got you over that edge.
Yeah.
That was definitely necessary. You were struggling a lot with that.
Yeah.
Then what are they going to do without me, and what am I going to do without, that, and I've got to stay for this long and put it on my resume because it looks good, and all of that social stuff, how you should be rather than how your inner self wants to be.
Yeah.
And that was causing a lot of inner conflict and friction.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was keeping you up at night. And of course you need your sleep. So if you were to give advice to any other young people who were struggling with anxiety, albeit that that now that you may have had one form of anxiety that was balanced on predisposition in your nervous system, but then got exacerbated, and then, through your lifestyle choices and everything culminated to a point and then how thankfully got pulled back. But not everybody has that constellation of anxiety. People might be watching this that have got different forms of panic attacks, because there's more than one different way of causing panic attacks, or different forms of anxiety disorder. But even so, having struggled with that for so long, what advice would you start to give to anyone?
Ooh. The main piece of advice I'd probably give is first I'd say you're not crazy and you're not alone, because that is just so important.
Yeah.
Like really understanding that you're not the only person going through it, it is a great feeling. You know, you don't need to know the other people that are going through it, but just knowing that it is something that a lot of people suffer from, and that you're not losing your mind, you're not crazy, you're experiencing extreme discomfort, and getting through that is hard, and it's not going to be a very quick thing. You might be able to change one or two things and get better, but you know, I don't think that this is the end of the road for me. I wouldn't sit here and say that I've cured everything and that I'm perfectly fine now and I don't have to worry about anything anymore, because that's just not true. I'm going to have to keep working on it. But knowing that we all have within ourselves the ability to go through it, like the human perseverance is amazing, and you can see countless examples for it in Hollywood movies and elsewhere. And so as long as you have the drive to do something about it, to actually
And keep
actively
looking as well, right?
to go out there and to, you know, you get turned down by 10, 15, 20 doctors that just say you're a hypochondriac, or, you know, just take these pills and you'll get better. Just keep looking. Like, you know, you'll find the answer somewhere, somehow. And it might not be where you expect it. I didn't think that my brain was swollen and that I was too fat to, you know, have the right hormone levels or anything like that. But here I am with a less swollen brain and less fat and more energy and more ability to do things and more perseverance and everything.
You're on a regular diet now as well.
Yeah, I'm not on keto anymore. I've just got a regular, normal, balanced diet, and I keep it as clean as possible. Really, I do.
You still avoid the foods that you know you're intolerant to.
Exactly. I don't have dairy. I don't have gluten. Those are the main two that I've gotten rid of. I keep my carbs as clean as possible as well. You know, stick to the brown rice rather than the white rice, and you know, I'm not going to go out and eat a bunch of sugar and then wonder why I'm not feeling great. And if I'm sitting inside in my room all day, not doing anything and not exercising, I'm also not going to sit there and wonder why I'm not feeling great. You know, you've got to drink water, exercise, and sleep well, and eat well. Do those, and you'll be surprised.
And have a good relationship with life itself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing everything, Elias.
Pleasure. Happy to.
Yeah. I'll put some additional information somewhere. Again, I want to reiterate that this is not medical advice. This is just one person's story and journey, taken from a multidisciplinary perspective, where we've looked at the physiological along with the psychological and the emotional and the predisposition, you know, the epigenetics, the predisposing factors, and the flow on into relationship with lifestyle and dietary choices, and the addition of even that psychological aspect of mindset and resources and social support. So it's like, it's multi-dimensional. It's like that holistic view, 100%. It was not one hammer that hit the nail.
No, it took a village. To raise this child.
And we're very lucky that you are here now, sitting here in such good form, about to travel overseas. Feeling free, about to go climb a wall with your bare hands, and relieved from that hideous thing that you went through for so long. So thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Bye.
Thanks guys. Like and subscribe. Peace out. See you on the next episode.